Hey everybody, it's Istvan82 and I'm here to perform a little history lesson for you guys. This is something that I thought of just recently and I was doing a little organizing and well, I found found some things and I thought I'd show them to you. Alright, let's start with this monstrosity which needs to be cleaned off a little. This is an original Game Boy. These were manufactured around 1989. Takes 4 AA batteries, lasts I think like 6 hours worth of gameplay. Did not come with a wall charger. You had to go buy that separately. That was usually about $20. I believe these things were like $100 when they came out in '89. Not exactly something that you would be able to get that easily if you were a little kid. Has, a 2-color screen, which is basically amber, well, or green, depending on how bad the screen looks, and this is pretty awful. But, and black. It had 2 knobs on it. Volume and contrast. You could not play these things in a poorly lit room. That was, nothing. That was it. Alright, and about 96, this came out. This is the Game Boy Pocket. It actually only took about 2 AAA batteries, and I think the battery life on them was about the same. The screen was much better quality. It, was the same size, smaller, also pretty expensive when it came out. Its main change, I believe, is that it has a smaller port for connecting to your friends. Well, aside from the size. So the Game Boy Link cable, which is that hole there, if you can see it, was a good bit smaller. It was also a bit expensive when it came out. Not bad, though, but of course it was in 1998. We got the big advancement. Yes, it is the Game Boy Color. Mine is actually a Franken-Color. It is put together out of the parts of several different ones, and it still doesn't work properly. There is no sound. This was the big advancement that blew people's minds, and took 2 AA batteries and had a fairly decent battery life as well, if I recall. But, yeah, that's spare parts. But I love it. Now, we hop all the way ahead to 2001. Game Boy Advance. This little guy here. You could not see anything unless you had, you were holding it at the right angle during like a vernal equinox in a brightly lit room that had a skylight. You would otherwise you would not see the screen. Well, I'm exaggerating there, but it was almost impossible to see. Now, of course, came the most wonderful, advancement, and this thing's pretty beaten up, but Game Boy Advanced SP. It is held together with electrical tape, and you can't see it, but it broke at one point, and I could not get a screwdriver to remove the screws. Well, I have the right screwdriver, it's just garbage, so it wouldn't remove the screws, so I had to drill the screws out, and they went straight through the case. So eventually I'm going to get a replacement case for it, but this was the first one that had a backlight on the screen. It was amazing, and it's comfortable. It's actually one of the more comfortable Game Boy systems to hold. Now this, you might believe it or not, this is the last Game Boy. This in 2003 was the end of the Game Boy line. It, had a good run, but that was it. Now, it was in 2004, we got this. Good old brick Nintendo DS. The 2, screens, the backlighting on both of them, the finger smudges, but it also had compatibility, of course, for the Game Boy Advance, and it, was the first time, I believe, that we had actually seen any type of, or I believe it was the first time we'd seen any type of touch screen technology on any type of video game console, but you don't hold me to that. And that was in 2004. Now, I don't have a Game Boy Micro, which was the next one. And that actually negates my previous statement, but all that the Game Boy Micro was one of these, but much smaller with a screen on it. It wasn't any type of any new advancement. It also had really, really poor battery life, and I don't believe it was backlit. I want to get one eventually. I also do not have, I've got this, which is the next step, actually. DS Lite. It was much lighter, much better built. The screen, I believe the screen was actually better than than the DS, the original DS. Don't hold me to that, though. So, it's also more comfortable than standard brick DS. Really lovely. Really wonderful system. I actually prefer it to my next system, which is DSi XL. This is a blessing for someone like me who, well, I've actually got good eyesight, but I will squint when I stare at a screen. So this is pretty much what you need when it comes to, or what someone like me needs, because I'm no longer sitting there staring at the screen going, what? It's mostly the dialogue. I actually have 20/20 vision, but for some reason, not for some reason, I'm really dyslexic. So when the letters get tiny, they get moving, and I start squinting, and it hurts my eyes. So, that's a nice thing. And then we move on to this. The Nintendo 3DS, I believe it came out in 2010, 2011. 3D technology that will give you a headache. Well, funny thing is I've never had it give me one. An analog thumbstick, which is not technically new to handheld systems, but it's much more comfortable than the PSP's analog thumbstick. Also, I've just got to say, for personal bias, I really like this charging station. It makes it so much easier when it comes to just throwing it down to charge. But I wanted to share that with you. If I eventually get a Game Boy Micro, I might do a new version of this video. But there's also one thing I don't have, or that was not at the front of the video, which of course you won't see. The Nintendo Game & Watch. It was a little 8-bit handheld system. Each one, it sort of looked like a Nintendo DS, which they actually modeled it, or the design, after the Game & Watch. But they only had one game per unit, and they are hyper rare. They came out in 1980. If I can ever get my hands on one, I will be so happy I will probably, dance around the room giggling. But anyway, that was just a little educational short for you guys. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of information, and I'll see you later on down the trail.